What's up, y'all? Tim DeGrasse here. So the X-Pro3 and the X100V were both released around 3 years ago. I've been using these cameras for the better part of that time period, and there are quite a few differences between these two cameras that will make or break your decision if you're looking to pick one of these up on the used market now, or even brand new if you can find them. Alright y'all, so just a quick disclosure, y'all know I bought both of these cameras with my money and no one has had a chance to review or approve this video before I'm releasing it to y'all. Both of these cameras have incredible build quality, but there are some nuances between them. For example, the X-Pro3 have top and bottom titanium plates, whereas the X100V has aluminum top and bottom plates. So what that means is structurally both of these cameras are very strong, but you have to give it up for the X-Pro3 because with that titanium, it's going to be a lot more durable in terms of dings and dents. Naturally, aluminum is softer than titanium, so it is to be expected that it is going to get some dents or dings if you're slinging your camera around anywhere. Now with the X-Pro3, if you opt for the Dora Black or Dora Silver models, you can have a little bit more confidence around carrying that camera just because the resistance to scratching is a lot higher than the regular painted black model. Now if you get the black X100V, that is going to be an anodized coating as compared to the naturally raw silver X100V that you get that doesn't have any coatings on top of it. If y'all haven't checked out my video comparing the two colors of the X100V, please be sure to give it a look. But I will say in my experience, I've never had any trouble with the X100V and its aluminum top and bottom plates. Another difference between these two cameras is going to be the grips. Now with the X-Pro3, you have these rigid, a little bit more pronounced grips that are perfect for your thumbs as well as your fingers on the front side of the camera. With the X100V, you kind of lose those grips just because the camera needs to be a little bit more pocketable and portable, but where you gain in pocketability, you kind of lose in ergonomics. Now with that being said, both of these cameras feel great in the hands, but I do have to give it to the X-Pro3 just because of those extra pronounced grips. They just feel a little bit better in the hands when you're going for a stroll or you're just carrying the camera free-handedly. Now when it comes to the buttons on these cameras, they are incredibly similar. But it actually makes a lot more sense to go over the differences because there are subtle nuances that are possible to overlook. For example, the ISO dial on the X-Pro3 must be held in position whenever you're changing it, whereas on the X100V, you can simply just pop up the ISO dial, change it, and set it back down to set it. For me, it makes a lot more sense just to leave the button popped up and just to be able to scroll and change the ISO, because with the X-Pro3 I feel like I'm kind of fighting to hold the ISO button up, and sometimes when I'm moving fast I don't really feel like going through that. But if you did watch my X-Pro3 review, you know that this camera is for a passionate photographer. Now that doesn't mean that you can't be a passionate photographer with the X100V, and I would actually argue otherwise, that you can be a passionate photographer with the X100V. But I don't think that holding up the ISO button adds that much more to the experience when it comes to slowing down and just really enjoying the process of photography. For me, I'd rather have the usability increase and just roll with the X100V and still be able to enjoy that process because I'm changing everything manually anyway. There's also an additional function button on the X-Pro3 right above the quick menu button that you can use to custom map any of your other actions. The X100V does not have an additional function button, but it does have a focus ring that when you're not manually focusing, you can use that to adjust the field of view from 35mm equivalent to 50mm equivalent or to 70mm equivalent. And that just makes for a really, really great experience because the camera will then zoom in and upscale the image so that you can have essentially 3 lenses on one fixed lens. With that being said, you can also use a focus ring to change film simulations on the X100V or to adjust white balance. And that helps you sort of make up for the lack of the additional function button on the X100V. Lastly, you'll notice that on the X100V you have a built-in flash, whereas on the X-Pro3 you have to get an external flash that might be too much depending on the photography that you're trying to do. Not only that, but the X100V has a built-in ND filter that you can use to shoot wide open when you're outside and get that same depth of field, whereas on the X-Pro3 you have to find an ND filter for the front of whatever lens you're using. And that just slows you up whenever you're trying to do candid photography. And continuing on the front, both of these cameras have a front scroll wheel, but on the X-Pro3 that scroll wheel is not clickable. So if you have any custom functions mapped to that button on your other X series cameras, they will not work on the X-Pro3, and you might be stuck trying to remap that custom button that works for you. On the X100V, you can click in with that button and map it to whatever you like. For me, I have it mapped to ISO, so I can just press it down, adjust ISO, and then move forward taking pictures. Alright y'all, so that wraps it up between the little subtle nuances between these two cameras, and I hope that if you enjoyed this video, you will like and subscribe to the channel. Peace.